So besides the obvious statistical analysis that you would do in practice, can you walk us through the other analysis that went into deciding that Tyler Bass should be your place kicker?
I mean, we look at everything. I mean, from the results, field goal percentage, to distance of kicks, to kickoffs. I mean, it's everything from, we test the wind every single day, difficulty of kicks, and then of course big moments, and how do we put them in those situations, and how do they act off the field, on the field, in meetings, how much are these guys picking up? So and that's where Tyler's really excelled, off the field, on the field. He's really he's competitive. He showed the ability, the mental side of it, and that's where he really stepped up. And as a rookie, he doesn't act like a rookie. He's mature, he's competitive, and he just understands the position as well as any rookie I've been around. So he's a very talented young player that just really has had a great camp and a great offseason in general. And he's a guy that we just been super impressed with since he showed up.
And one follow-up to the last point you made about Tyler being a rookie, but showing you the mental capacity that shows like he's more experienced, except that that Stephen Hauschka obviously had that experience and on the biggest stage. At how much of a discussion was there about taking that leap of faith away from the known experience that Stephen had, and of course taking at least you're taking a leap of faith to a large degree or some degree with a rookie?
And we are taking a leap of faith, but it's something I really believe in. I've got to know this kid really well, since I literally went down and worked him out back in April. So I've got a great relationship with him, and just have a really good understanding with him and what he's about and what's important to him. And I feel like it's I just trust him. I just trust him out there. He does everything right. And, of course, we're going to have some ups and downs throughout the season. That's part of ball. But just going forward, he earned the job. He earned it. He worked his butt off, and we take everything into account, into picking this position, and just overall, he won the job. Nobody handed it to him. We made it as hard as possible as we could, and he excelled at everything we did and everything we evaluated.
Thank you, Heath.
No problem.
Hey, Heath, John Scott, good to see you. How much did the at least two experiences that we saw inside the stadium play a factor in your decision going Tyler over Stephen?
That was that last scrimmage the other day was kind of last second look at him. But honestly, it's a whole body of work. Like I said, since the moment we've been able to kind of meet up with him and talk to him, that's when the evaluation started. Just at the end, we look at that scrimmage, we had some pretty good wind gusts, and him to be able to make some of those kicks. And, of course, he missed the 55-yarder, but he was able to bounce back and still hit some kicks. And then his kickoffs, those are, super impressive. When you kick that, you don't see that, a 20-mile-an-hour wind in your face and he hits it -10 with the 4.4 hang time. Those are something you rarely see. So it's his ability to kick off like he does, to hit consistent kicks. He's just that was the kind of final straw of like, this guy really can do it. He's won the job. His percentage was really good in training camp. And just every time we challenged him, and we took him down to the stadium several times without you guys even, being out there. So we've been evaluating him a ton, even past what you guys have seen.
And follow up here, he's earned the job. He won the job. What specifically are you looking at for him to continue to grow in regards to his kicking here as we hit the regular season? Is it intermediate distances? Is it long distances? What specifically are you looking to focus in for him to improve upon?
And I've had this conversation several times with him. He has the big leg, and of course, as a young player, of course, he wants to hit all these long kicks. But I say that's not what wins you the job. That's not what's going to keep this job. It's what do you do from 40 to 49. And so that's always been the emphasis, and that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed since he got the job. That's been since day one. Our first time I talked to him, how is he going to win the job? That's how it was. So I think there's emphasizing that, and we're trying to stretch him on the situational football, and we did that in the scrimmage. And it's like you make an extra point, but you got to go kick off, so you got to still dial in and do all those little situational things that we can't take for granted. Being he is a rookie, so I just got back from at the stadium, and we did a bunch of situational stuff of okay, you got a penalty on your field goal team, now it's five, that field goes 5 yards deeper that you weren't anticipating. So we're trying to put them through all these scenarios of what it's going to be like, and we're trying to anticipate what it's like during the regular season. But we're doing the best to prepare them on everything we can.
Thanks.
No problem.
Hey, Heath, good to see you. Thanks for taking a few minutes here. I remember a few months ago having the conversation, you setting up this battle, and one of the things you said, was about your relationship with Steven going back to Seattle. And, what was that like, having to say goodbye to him, and not only, what he's done, in his career, but what he's meant to Buffalo the last couple of years?
He's been great. He's had a great career here. He's been great on and off the field. He's been spectacular. And it's unfortunate, it's a guy I played with for a long time. I've had a lot of history with him. But that's, in this game, it's, I know it's cliche, but it's part of the business. And I guess I understand it. I have more empathy than most. I've been cut twice, so I understood what it's like to get cut, and, it's kind of it's a funny story. I give Coach Leslie Frazier, a hard time about this all the time. Leslie Frazier cut me back in 2009. He was my head coach, and he released me at the end of training camp, and I went on to play a few more years. So, it's funny now to come back here, and he is one of my best mentors on this staff. He's being a former, coordinator. He's really kind of taken me under his wing, and he's always answered all my questions, and he's been so helpful. So, it goes full circle. I know it's really tough, and it's tough on Steve. We're hoping the best for him. I know he'll be kicking at some point this season for another team, but that's just part of the deal in this business. It goes full circle. And again, I have more sympathy for any of these players. It's a tough business, and it's a tough road. And like I said, I've been through it, and I'm there for them as much as I can.
And quick follow-up, we talk in the offseason about, Taiwan and Tyler, some of these special team standouts that have come in here. Now that we're a few weeks into camp, has there been anybody that's popped, maybe some of these younger guys that are kind of really developing into a special team standout?
Yeah, Jaquan Johnson, he's our personal protector. He's a special player he excels in all the phases. There's not a phase that he doesn't do very well. So he's a guy that we look as a leader. He was his rookie year last year, so he didn't have necessarily the leadership pieces as he does now. He's just been he's taken a hold of it, and he runs the group. He's talented. He does it all. So he's a young player that, across the league, they'll start recognizing him a lot more. And then Saran Neal, Saran Neal's done a good job. He's been a really good gunner for us, and just, getting all his game together, putting it all together, because he is loaded with talent, and he cares, and he's passionate about it. Those two guys are really young players for us that really have been really, exceptional during training camp. And I'm looking for big years for both those guys.
Thanks, Heath.
No problem.
Hey, Heath, roster cuts are just about a week away. So how has it been evaluating this roster through training camp, especially with no preseason games? What have you guys had to do to, probably go over this film from practice with a fine comb, looking at everything over and over again, maybe multiple times?
Yeah, I think, we always do that. I think that's something we always have done with film work and, in practice. But I think we put them in different situations, whether it's a scrimmage, we're going live out there, really getting more, tackling reps, that you're not able to get without preseason games. So put them in those situations of making open field tackles that helps them on defense, but also help them on special teams. So getting as many situational, reps that we can that'll help them on game day. And that's how we evaluate it. We're putting them out there in spots that is really tough positions. And like I said, if it's tackle, in training camps this day and age, you don't do a ton of tackling. Well, we've been able to do it in replace of preseason games. So that's how we just got to evaluate on what we have. And fortunately, everybody's dealing with the same stuff. So, it's not like some other team has a big advantage on us in that.
Has the communication been any different between you and the coaching staff through evaluating this roster with no preseason games?
No, I don't believe so. No, we this staff has been together. Of course, I just joined last season, but this whole staff has been together at least 2 years and some more. So it's really, it's a really close group that we really have all on the same page. So we're all trying to, help each other win and help our side of the ball. So if the roster dictates a certain way to help us win, everyone's on board.
Thanks, Heath.
No problem.
Hey, Coach, I just want to go back to the kicking competition a little bit and talk about the clutch gene, because it seems like either you have it or you don't. And I know you talked about going through every different kind of scenario. How tough is it? I know you guys talked about creating pressure and competition. How can you create clutch kicks in a training camp?
I mean, I think anytime we bring them up there, we have the whole team there, and you have, Trey White talking trash to him and some of our veteran defensive linemen talking trash to them and trying to simulate that, I think is the best we can do, and to earn their respect. That was one thing I noticed pretty quickly was how many veteran players came up to me, within a week or two of work in training camp going, this guy's pretty good, and he's going, oh, what's that kicker's name? Well, he's pretty good, man. He's talented. So I think he's kind of, he's earning the respect of the veteran players, and they're realizing how talented he is and his mindset. And I think that's just only building his confidence. He's a guy, a kid that believes in himself and trusts how, his talent, but is willing to work and to make himself even better. And the more we just build him up, the better it's going to be. But I think the veterans have really been a big influence of just realizing and seeing how talented this kid is. That they've been supportive of him from right away.
Do you ever have those conversations with kickers, whether they're going through slumps or just – is that just something they have or they don't? Or do you tell him, hey, take a deep breath? Like, is there any coaching that goes into that, or does, Tyler have it or he doesn't?
It's funny, a lot of times you have to have those conversations, but I know in that scrimmage, he had missed that kick. And, I thought to myself, do I need to go over and step in and kind of talk to him? And, my assistant, Matthew Smiley, and I had a conversation about it. And we said, the final decision was, let's let him deal with this. This is something he's going to have to deal with. And it's all part of his growth. Of he's going to have to compartmentalize this. Okay, I missed it. What's the correction? And make the correction. And then he went on to kick a couple more kicks and excelled in those and made the kicks. And, one was a simulated game winner. So he knew it was a game winner. We told him it was a game winner. The pressure's on. You got to make it. You don't get a second chance at it. And so those are the things we can kind of put them in those situations. And again, but that's something as a kicker, we can help them out through that stuff. But they got to have the mindset to do it themselves. And I think that was one of the things that we decided, hey, let's just let him work himself through this. Let's see how he handles it. He could have missed 2 or 3 in a row at the end of the practice and you've got a better idea what you're dealing with. But that's not the case with this guy.
Thanks, Coach.
No problem.
Hey, Heath, this might be a bit of a selfish question for all of us who are watching practice, but now that the competition part is over, I noticed that most of the kicks didn't go beyond, mid-50s. Is there a worthwhileness for you to try something with Bass from 60, 60 plus, even, he's talked about making from 70. Is it worth it to you? Is that something that maybe you guys will do at some point, throughout the season now that the decision's made?
Yeah, we've done that before. He has the leg. I know he has that. But like I said earlier, I'm really, what's most important to this team is what does he make between 40 and 49? That's the majority of his kicks are going to be. You may have one this year that'll be 60, but that's not really where you make your money. So I think that's the reason. I wanted to dial in that 40 range. That's the reason why I kicked them all like that today. I think he had a 150-something yarder. But for the most part, we try to dial in that 40 to 49. Those are the ones he's going to have to make. And I know he has the leg. He can make those, and he makes them all the time for us. So, he's made it several of those in camp. I believe he's made 4 or 5 60 plus. So he has the leg. He can do that. If it was up to him, he would. I'm having to kind of pull the reins back a little bit on him.
There's a different approach too, because you got to hit the longer ones lower? Is it almost to where because the shorter ones you hit in a certain trajectory all the time, it's worth it to practice those more often? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think with a lot of kickers, that's the case where because the trajectory, it has to get so far out when it is 60. But with his, elevation on his ball, you'll notice it doesn't change the elevation. He doesn't have to. He has such a big leg and makes such good contact that you don't seem to see that same scenario. So he is a talented kicker, and the mindset is unbelievable. And I know he can kick those, and I love watching him as much as you guys do. But I also know what's best for the team and where we're going to put him out there. And really, the hardest things are those shorter kicks. When I say shorter, it's still 40 to 49, and also with the elements here. We got a glimpse of it. The other day in the stadium is you could have 20-mile winds, and it's very common here. And so, how is he going to have to learn those? So the faster he can learn those, the better we'll be this season. So I think we'll go down to the stadium as much as we can. Probably every time he kicks, we'll sneak away from practice, take him out of the stadium, and get those extra looks and to feel those different winds in that stadium.
You talk about the different trajectory. Does the ball come off his foot faster to where it seems like it does to us, to where, maybe a rushing isn't as much a concern? He doesn't have to get that initial elevation to have to clear hands because the ball is leaving his foot at a faster speed.
Yeah, his operation times are really good, and they're game ready. He is he's primed up as far as operation time. So not that I want him to slow down by any means, but he is right where we want him. I love the trajectory of the ball. As long as we protect like we should up front, we should be in pretty good shape right there.
Thanks, Heath. Appreciate it.
No problem.